watching Lifestyle Xpose on Web TV. Of course, I'm your girl Laura. And presently with me, I'm with Mr. Charles Igwe, CEO of the Big Picture, and of course, can I say an expert in Nollywood industry. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, Mr. Charles, before I go into discussing the entertainment structure, can we just know a little bit about your company, the Big Picture?
Okay, obviously I work at the Big Picture. One of the things that I found myself doing very early when this whole experience, which people call Nollywood now, started out, was that it became clear that there were two distinct categories of activity in this sector. I mean, the people who invented it in the United States, they called it show business. So there's a show side of it, which is what people engage with on TV and music and all of that stuff. That's where the performance happens. And then there's the business side of it, which creates the, platforms on which things can get done, investment and all this type of things can get done. And people were absent in that area. Most people were just doing these things and getting along and creating stuff. Now, but for me, my background is financial services. So it became, of course, a natural fit to be sure that, whatever monies that go into this would also find a way out, and that there will be sustained investment in this. Because at the time when we started, there was no acknowledgement from any other sector in the economy.
Okay. All right, now let me go into the entertainment industry.
Okay.
Being an early investor or an early starter in the industry, coupled with Kenneth Igwe, how would you assess the entertainment industry structure compared to that of the 90s?
Well, in the 90s, I'm not sure that there was structure. Okay, so you can say that whatever it is that exists now, however inadequate it is, was obviously better than when we started. Because there wasn't any structure. There wasn't like somebody had done a business plan and said, if we made movies, we're going to have this massive industry and we will make money. Nobody had that. What was there, like I was saying to you earlier, there was just a coincidence of some unique opportunities that came together. And I think it was that initiative by Mr. Kenneth Igwe that put the spark into this place, and we had what now has become almost like a forest fire called Nollywood, because I think it's at 2005 or so, 2006, it was a record that we had made in excess of 30,000 movies. And that is incredible output, and we've done that, in 10, 15 years? That's a lot of work. So that was not expected in the beginning. So in terms of structure, there wasn't anybody who had planned structure. The first attempt we made at structure was when the Association of Movie Producers was set up. Mr. Igwe was involved in that. Zebejire was there. Amaka Igwe, who's my late wife, was also there. And they made that effort to try to see if they can get some kind of coordination in the activities that were going on in this, understanding that there were several elements, a lot of moving parts. That worked for a while, and a few other things came up. Then I think it was somewhere in about a little later in the 90s, we tried to provide a more encompassing platform, and then we created something called the Conference of Motion Picture Practitioners. And in the charter of that CMPPN that we created at the time, I was secretary to that association for 3 years.
Okay.
The late Justice Eseri was president of the association. What we tried to do was to create platforms for all the, creative inputs that were coming in. So we had a Screenwriters Guild, platform, had a Producers Guild, a Directors Guild, cinematographers. We broke them all into those beds. And we tried to get people to specialize. But in Nigeria, people are multitasking people. I mean, it's a gift that people have. So there was a bit of resistance to that. A lot of people didn't want to be put in one category. They wanted to be writer, director, producer, everything together. And we figured, look, this is not how the system works. At least we took time in developing the CMPPN Charter. We took time to study the US, study China, study India, study all the other markets where things have been done. But one thing that my late wife would say is that the reason for studying these people wasn't really to copy them. It was so that we would know the rules, and then we would know how to break the rules to make it work for us.
All right, we know that the entertainment industry has added 0.47 according to statistics, and that's a great job. But I just want to know about the content in Nollywood. I don't know if it's only me, but I think other people are complaining in terms of content, in terms of rush production. We don't know, like we believe that the message being passed outside is no longer relevant compared to that of the 90s. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, I take a slightly different view.
Okay.
And this is my view, because you see, for me, I take a view also from not just the consumer or the sensitive observer. I also take a view from the point of view of a business person who's involved in this thing. You would understand and appreciate that the business we're in primarily, I think the broadest category you can define for this business is we are in the audience engagement business. It doesn't sound like movie making, but that is the business term. So really, what we do, including what you're doing here now, its primary objective is to get more than a few people to sit down in one place and pay attention to what you're presenting. So you're managing audiences. Now, it is that audience that you manage to put together that your clients, your advertisers, and all that are interested in. They're not really that much interested in what it is that you're saying.
Okay.
If the statistics show that this show that you're doing has 1 million people watching it, you would have every big advertiser at your doorstep, regardless of what you're discussing. So you have to look at that. That's the first business line, because that's where your money returns. Now, the rest of the things, the sensitivities and all of that, becomes a matter of social responsibility, which is incumbent on every one of us who's producing stuff here. Like, the business is called a mind share business, which is to say, if I'm paying attention to you, I'm likely not to be paying attention to whoever is standing behind me. Everybody wants my attention to come to them. That's where the competition is. So you have the United States, which is the biggest of the operators. They invented most of the things that we're all dealing with now. The United States is pushing out massive volumes of content into the world because they want their content to be top of the mind for all the people viewing. So you find that, okay, everybody's got their strategy. So here we are in Nigeria, 170 million people, and we're creating content. Okay. Now, there are things that are peculiar to the content we're creating and the process we're creating it in that gives us advantages, which is why we actually even exist in the same space that these other massively funded and all those type of structured things are working. So let's break it down. First thing, one of the things you mentioned, we do rushed productions. I'm not sure the phrase that qualifies it is rushed. Because remember, ultimately, the reason why we have maintained an industry successfully and contributed the percentage you mentioned to the GDP is because everything we have put out, somebody has watched it, appreciated it, and paid for it, giving us the enablement to do the next one. So in other words, we have an effective industry. Effective means it is performing the business function. The second thing now is to see, is the content itself audience appropriate? That's the concern you have. Some of the stories we tell and all that. It's curious because one of the first things that we're complaining about much earlier was that, every movie we had all this juju, babalawo, and all of that. That was sad. But the feedback we have from Uganda, from Tanzania, is that is the most interesting thing in the movies that they were watching. Then there was the issue of, there's too much blood here and all that. The people in Haiti, Jamaica, and all that, they can relate with it. It happens in their space. So you find that, a lot of stuff has come here. But, if you look at the profile of what has been produced in Nigeria, it's a full spectrum. From the one that you think is most offensive to the one that you think is great. Question is, what do you want to watch? The same thing occurs in the United States. It's not those 10 or 20 films that they hype to the world and they bring in here as blockbusters, the Spider-Mans, Captain Americas, and all. Those are not the only movies they make. They make at least 600 to 700 movies in the United States every year. We get to see like 30 or 40 because those are the ones that they push with great marketing to the rest of the world. They make movies that go straight to TV. They make some really, I don't know if you see something called American Warship. It is the most stupid thing I ever saw, but somebody funded that thing. They had ships and all that, but it was just ridiculous to watch. But that's the thing. So every industry has that. Question is, what is the spin on them? Who's managing their communication? Of course, we don't have the kind of robust structure yet that allows us to properly qualify what we put out.
Okay, looking at it, I think looking at what you have said, going by what you have said, I think the industry is progressing and of course is successful. But I just want to be clear on this. What about the financial structure or the financial sector in the industry? Is it being utilized properly?
Okay, very, very interesting question because that's what affects most people. Now, I think it's important to clarify some things, and I'm going to share things with you just so that people who may be watching you would understand better how this works. Obviously, the business makes money. The media business makes money. Its primary asset is filmed content, like what you're doing, like the movies we make and all that. And that content is a non-consumable content. We make the content. It's not like orange juice, which you drink and it's gone. It's not like crude oil, which you use and it's gone. It's not like agricultural produce that you use and it's gone. You make it once. It continues to make money for the lifetime of that project. So for instance now, you'd find that anybody who has a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old person in their house probably has a copy of The Sound of Music in there. Mm-hmm. The Sound of Music was made in 1954. It's still making money till today and will make money for the country. So again, so what you see is that that's where the creative challenge goes in. In designing the content you make, you have to look at what is the projection that you have, and that's where my business also provides strategic advice to. So you make a content that you know will last for years. Now, I'm talking to you here. I mean, if I bring it home, we made a movie called Rattlesnake in 1994. The demand for it is still very strong as I'm talking to you here now. That's 21 years ago. So for me, investing in media and media content is as sound an investment as investing in oil and gas and all that. The question is, how do you go about it? A lot of people have gone about it the wrong way. And I'll just take a little time to just clarify that. Like I said earlier, it's show, business, show and business. The show side of it is the performance, it's the creative cycle. Mm-hmm. That's where the people who have ideas for stories are involved, the producers, the writers, the directors, actors, editors, everybody in the creative process is in that show segment. So the product starts life as an idea in somebody's head, goes down to a script, goes down to auditions, goes down to, production services, recordings, editing, packaging, and then you have what you call a master tape or master product, right? Mm-hmm. At that time, there's no money. What you have is a DVD, and that's it. Now, this is how money engages. It's an investment cycle that also goes. It's not as visible. And that is the business side of it. It's what carries the creative cycle all the way through. But it doesn't stop where it stops. So when the idea comes down and it comes into a written script, it's come out to the person's head, the money joins it. That's when the investment goes in. But the investment and the creative cycle, they run seamlessly. You don't see the money until the finished product is done. Everything in that process is funded. You pay your actors, you pay your directors, you pay everybody all the way until the master tape is done.